So 1946 was the first year that Ajahn Chah spent as a forest monk in the forest monastery at Kawangkot in Lopburi province in central Thailand. And although Luang Pu Pao had passed away before he arrived, a lot of his teachings were recorded, not recorded, but had been written down and they could be studied. And there was a very inspiring monk there. He was Cambodian, but he was unusual in a way, in that he was very skilled in the and knowledgeable in the suttas and the academic theoretical side of Buddhism, but also in the practice of meditation. Now, I've been telling you of this distinction between the forest monks and the village or the town monks, and unfortunately in Thailand, what's tended to develop is that the forest monks have often neglected the theoretical study, and then the academic monks don't meditate. And so this was the first time he met someone who had this kind of all-round ability and knowledge. And I told you also that Ajahn Chah was very interested in the monk's discipline. And he would often go and speak with this monk and ask questions about more difficult points of the Vinaya discipline. And so in the evening, Ajahn Chah, after the evening service, would walk up onto the top of the mountain, and he liked to do walking meditation up there. It was very quiet and breezy. So it was late at night, and he was walking up and down, when he heard the sound of someone coming up the mountain. Of course, in those days, people didn't have torches, and so he sort of stumbling up in the darkness, and quite dangerous. And who could that be? And it was the Ajahn, the Cambodian Ajahn. And so he said, what brings you up here this time of night? Sort of quite surprised. And the Ajahn said, when you asked me that question today, I gave you a wrong answer. I just don't want you to have that misunderstanding overnight, because who knows what could happen. Either one of us could die, anything could happen, and it would be terrible, if you were to die or something, were to carry this away with you and never to have it. Ajahn Chah was just so impressed that he had that kind of scrupulousness and that kind of, it gave that kind of importance. Also that, he had that sense of the uncertainty of our life and how we can't take anything for granted, and that he would walk all the way up the mountain. It was, he was so sincere about it, and this was so he would tell his monks about this very frequently, as it give him as a good example of the kind of attitude towards study and the responsibilities of a teacher as well. So one other thing that happened during that Pansa was he had this experience with the Pi'am. Do you know what Pi'am are? Yeah, Pi'am. Have you ever had Pi'am experience? Yeah. Really? Okay. Well, Pi'am, Pi, as you know, means ghost. But I think Pi'am is kind of like a special kind of experience. Many people have it, and I think if you lay on your back sometimes, maybe it's indigestion, maybe it is some kind of pee, but I've had this experience, you just have this feeling of this heavy weight weighing down on your chest, so you can hardly breathe. But it's not just like a physical thing. You have this sense of like evil and like something really nasty, and it's pushing you down. It's very frightening. And so Ajahn Chah had one of these experiences. Now, before that, he, like many monks, would have all these kind of spells, and he'd learn all these special phrases which are supposed to protect you from all kinds of spirits and things. But this was he had this experience, but then he found that for the first time, instead of thinking of all his spells and things, he just thought of like Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and just fought with his fear, and until the experience passed away. And so that was also important to him, and in really strengthening his faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, where you don't have to have all these kind of spells, just try to recollect the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And of course, for myself and many of my friends, when we've had this experience, we just got our Ajahn Chah picture. I mean, I always said, well, like Ajahn Chah picture, and just sort of hold it like this. And so, not quite sure, what these things are.